In September 2025, a 16-year-old girl shot her own mother 5 times inside their home in Galveston, Texas. There was no robbery, no break-in, no stranger involved, just a mother and her daughter. Neighbors later said they first heard yelling. Not unusual, families argue, teenagers argue with parents, but this sounded different. The yelling turned into screaming, and then the screaming stopped abruptly when 5 gunshots rang out in rapid succession.
Hear boom, 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 boom. Like, I hear 5.
People nearby dropped to the ground. Others ran inside and locked their doors. Multiple 911 calls flooded in within seconds. When police arrived at the home on Avenue Q, they found 34-year-old Tiamoya Moore lying on the front porch, surrounded by blood and shell casings. Bullet holes were visible inside the home, and investigators would later confirm that some bullets traveled into neighboring houses as well. Paramedics rushed Tiamoya to the University of Texas Medical Branch Hospital, but despite their efforts, she was pronounced dead. What happened next is the detail that turned this case from tragic to deeply disturbing. As police were still securing the scene, as yellow tape was being pulled across the yard, as officers were documenting evidence and photographing bullet holes, the suspected shooter returned. 16-year-old Renea Moore walked back to the house. She didn't resist. She didn't argue. She didn't run again. She was taken into custody quietly and charged with murder. Tiamoya Moore was not a perfect woman. She never claimed to be. Born on July 17, 1991 in Lamar, Texas, she had spent much of her early adult life battling addiction, toxic relationships, and instability. But in the months before her death, something changed. She got sober, completely, alcohol-free, drug-free. She found religion. She found structure. She found purpose. She posted openly about her sobriety milestones, not for attention, but because she was proud of surviving something that nearly destroyed her. Friends and family described her as generous, spiritual, and deeply devoted to her children. She had 5 kids, and according to those closest to her, they were the reason she stayed clean, the reason she kept going. The relationship between Tiamoya and her eldest daughter, Renea, hadn't always been broken. Old photos show a close bond, smiles, affection. Social media posts where Tiamoya called her daughter her road dog and her firstborn. But according to family members, everything changed when Renea was around 12 years old. That's when the rebellion began. Renea wanted to be grown. Not emotionally grown, not mentally grown, just adult-level freedom without adult-level responsibility. She began getting tattoos as a minor. She experimented with substances. Her social media presence projected an image far older than her actual age. She ran away from home multiple times. In June 2022, a missing person report was filed. She was found within 24 hours, but the pattern had already been set. At one point, Renea posted online, "My mama ain't never did nothing for me but gave me life." Family members later described her as troubled, impulsive, and increasingly unstable. Some believe she struggled with mental health issues that were never fully addressed or consistently treated. Tiamoya responded the way many parents would. She set boundaries. Phones were taken away as punishment. Outside privileges were restricted. Boyfriends were not allowed unsupervised access. According to the family, there was no abuse, no physical violence, just rules, just consequences, just a mother trying to stop her daughter from making the same mistakes she herself had made. But to Renea, those boundaries felt like suffocation. Protection felt like control. Discipline felt like oppression. Resentment began to harden into anger. On the evening of September 11th or 12th, tensions were already high in the Moore household. Accounts differ on what triggered the final argument, but what is clear is this: there was no physical fight. Neighbors heard yelling, then screaming. According to Renea's sister, Tia Moya turned around, saw her daughter holding the gun, and screamed. That scream was the last sound she ever made. 5 shots were fired. Inside the house at the time were Tia Moya's mother, an uncle, and a cousin. They heard everything. They heard the argument. They heard the gunshots. They heard Tia Moya's body hit the porch. After the shooting, Renea fled on foot. Police arrived within minutes and found Tia Moya critically wounded. As officers worked the scene and paramedics tried to save her life, Renea returned. She walked back into the chaos she had just created and surrendered without incident. She was taken to the Jerry J. Esmond Juvenile Justice Center and held without bond. Because she is a minor, details about court proceedings have been limited. As of late 2025, no major public updates had been released, and it remains unclear whether prosecutors will attempt to try her as an adult. While the legal system moved slowly, the internet moved fast. Within hours, TikTok and other platforms were flooded with videos claiming Tia Moya was abusive, that Renea acted in self-defense, and that the murder was justified. None of these claims were supported by evidence. Then the situation became even more cruel. Users mistakenly identified Renea's younger sister, Kiki, as the shooter. Her face spread across social media labeled as a murderer, while grieving her mother, while processing the loss of her sister to jail. She was being falsely accused online by strangers. Kiki eventually spoke out publicly. She stated clearly that her mother never abused them. She explained the discipline, phones taken away, not being allowed to go outside, normal consequences for a rebellious teenager. She also shut down rumors that the argument was about a boyfriend. It wasn't. It wasn't about a boy. It was about authority, boundaries, and a teenager who refused to accept them. Today, 4 children are growing up without their mother. A grandmother lives with the trauma of hearing her daughter die. And a 16-year-old sits in juvenile detention, facing a charge that will define the rest of her life. Some believe Renea should be tried as an adult. They argue that retrieving a gun and firing 5 shots shows intent and understanding. Others point to neuroscience, which shows that the adolescent brain, particularly the parts responsible for impulse control and decision-making, is not fully developed at 16. The truth is, America has never agreed on where accountability truly begins. And this case forces a question that has no easy answer. When the killer is a child, what does justice actually look like?